Hey, how's everybody doing out there today in podcast world?
Hey,
We got another one of our special guests on here today. How you doing, Misha? Just chill. We're gonna Tanya's gonna read your bio, and then we're gonna get into it. We're gonna ask you questions. Then we just gonna talk.
Yeah.
All right.
We're gonna keep it simple. All right, welcome everybody. Jameesha Smith. She starts out her bio with rapper Big John's lyrics, always repping, but I'm hardly home. I don't know if I sounded like him, but that's how it goes. Is the best way to describe her cosign and love for her hometown, Detroit. However, she knew even as a little girl she wanted to live away. So after becoming a first generation college graduate with a bachelor's of science plus a master's of arts from Western Michigan University, she relocated to Maryland in her mid 20s and has lived on the East Coast for nearly 16 years. She has spent the last 12 years working in the digital world and keeping up with the young, black, and fabulous, or simply the YBF, as executive assistant. And it's a celebrity website which focuses on news regarding the prominent African American figures in Hollywood. Before switching over to the digital space, Jamisha dedicated her time working with college students at Boise State University as a resident director. I like that. Jamisha has been afforded some really cool opportunities over the years by working hard, making wise decisions, treating everyone with dignity and respect, and maintaining solid relationships. Some of her most memorable pinch me moments, I like that, include attending the 2015 White House holiday party and getting to meet and take a photo with the former U.S. President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama, taking a lifelong dream vacation with 20 of her friends to Martha's Vineyard after having it on her vision board years prior and becoming a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Inc. in spring 2001 while at Western Michigan University. She's the middle child and a proud Leo who never meets a stranger, which is why her friends and sorority sisters think she knows everyone. Speaking of friends, they are the family she got to choose. So she has tried to pick them wisely and often refers to them as her forever friends. Adulting is no joke, but the motivation she receives from her mom's unconditional love, the commitment to inspire her nieces and nephews by blood and bonds to reach higher and simply starting her life over every week to be a better human keeps her going. Last but not least, she is the proud graduate of Martin Luther King Jr. Senior High School MSAT program, MSAT program. Go King Crusaders. All right. Welcome, Misha, everybody. Ooh, let's get into
Misha,
her story.
Hey y'all, I guess most people know me by, well, y'all know me by Misha. So the people on Facebook probably only know me by Jamisha. But I always tell people, like, if you come around my family, they probably would be like, who is Jamisha?
Ah.
Yeah, we was talking about that last week, how so many of us get nicknames as young folks and wind up 80 years old and they still calling you Dirt Bug or June Bug.
I know. Poo poo.
Yeah, Pooter.
I'm finally on the podcast. I'm excited.
How you doing, Misha? You doing all right?
I'm doing okay. Like I said, I love y'all to come on the podcast because this is different being in front of the camera. I'm usually behind the scenes. So it's a little weird, but you all are family and I would never say no. So
all right. There we go. That's how we get everybody.
I'm glad you like us.
That's how we get everybody.
No, I love you. I don't dislike you.
I love us. Thank you.
All right. So Misha, we always talk about our guests. We most of the time are their high school. So you proud graduate of Martin Luther King Jr. Senior High School.
Yep.
Okay. I'll give you applause for that because that's our arch rival. But you, Jasmine, and Brand is all King Crusaders. So kudos to that.
They knew who to follow.
Thanks for balancing it out.
Right. Yes. And Western Michigan University, another place I spent a minute.
I followed you there, so that's good.
Yeah, there we go. So another place I spent a minute, and Brandis as well. So, all right. So Misha, you let's just break down this a little bit, and then we'll talk about, we're gonna talk about what you want to talk about. How does it feel being able to say that you're a first generation college graduate?
Oh, wow. I mean, of course, I have a sense of pride. I mean, I think sometimes for most of us, you never really sit back and think about like what it took to get places because you're so busy just focusing on getting there. So for me, for a long time, I never really thought about like, wow, I was able to attend college, finish college, graduate twice because I got my master's degree. And I guess I would be a first generation master's degree holder or whatever. But it's a sense of pride. I think I began to get pride once I saw that people behind me did the same thing. So when Jasmine, Brandis, just some of the Shawnee, other family members, that's when it really became like a sense of pride because I felt like, I had really done what I set out to do because I wanted to go to college, of course, but I really wanted to go and kind of like make a way for other people to do the same thing and to kind of like figure it out for all of them. So I think for me, that's kind of when I was like, okay, like it all made sense and it was worth it because it was hard, like going away to school and not really knowing what, besides maybe some of the stuff that, you watched on TV. Like for me, it was like a different world. Like watching that made me want to go to college, but I didn't really have like a blueprint on how to, because anybody could go to college, I feel like, or, at least you could start. But I think maintaining and staying is yeah.
Right. That is the hard part, staying there.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So that's good. So then you did some work at the university level in I guess in housing. You were advisor or what? How did that go?
So, like I said, I finished undergrad and then I left Western Michigan for like 6 months and went and did an internship in Denver, Colorado. And then I came back because I had an opportunity to go to graduate school for free, working in residence life. Now, I hadn't worked in residence life in undergrad. I wasn't an RA. I was like, I don't want to be in charge of people. But when this opportunity presented itself, I had done so much stuff in undergrad that I still had I had the skill set to work in residence life. And so started working in residence life. I actually worked kind of like in every department on Western's campus. Like I worked in financial aid, I worked in the Division of Minority Affairs, I worked in admissions. I did so much stuff that, how working in residence life wasn't necessarily like a big jump, but, I enjoyed it and it launched my career in higher education. I knew that I wanted to work with other college age students because, I wanted to give back. That's what I set out to do. Like I wanted to work with first generation college students. I actually worked with the Upward Bound program as well, which is through the TREAT program, the federal program. And so I just, I always love working with college age students because I remember being one. And although we definitely had a lot of Black administrators and people at Western, I felt like, they were kind of older. So I wanted to be a little bit younger and be able to really touch the students on the college campus. And I just had this whole dream, like I'm maybe become like a university president or work in a counseling suite. But I just really, really wanted to give back. And at the time, that's what I thought would be the best way for me to give back is by working in higher education.
Okay. And I want to ask you this question because it just popped in my head. Because when I was at Western, although I think that the African-American student population was probably less than 10% of the population, of student population on campus, you almost wouldn't know it because it was such a tight-knit community that it almost seemed like it was HBCU. In the fact that outside the classroom, you didn't really see anybody other than African-Americans. Was it the same way when you was there?
Yeah, it was. And I always tell people, now I know it's like a lot of focus on historically Black colleges and universities. And it's always this kind of war against if you went to a predominantly white institution versus a historically Black college. But I tell people, I never really felt like I missed out on going to a Black college. And I actually got accepted. I was actually supposed, I don't know if you all knew this, but I was supposed to go to Alabama A&M. Like I got a scholarship. I was like, oh, I'm getting away from home. And probably a couple weeks, maybe like a month before school started, my mother and I, we were talking, and she was just kind of saying like, you know, it's so far away. If something happens, how could we get to you? Even coming home for the holidays, like that would, you have to take it home. And so at the last minute, I had gotten accepted to Western. I had competed for the Cultural Diversity Scholarship and received it. I called the Detroit area admissions officer, and I was like, is it too late to go? And she was like, no. So my roommate, well, my friend, Janique, she was our class president at King. She also had gotten accepted. And so we both just kind of on the phone over the summer decided we were going to go to Western. So we called, got everything together. We went to the last orientation that summer, and that was the launch of it. But I always tell people, Western, you know, it was 20,000+ people there, but the Black community was so tight that I felt like I got all of the experiences that I probably would have gotten at a Black college. And, you know, I got to pledge a sorority, Delta Sigma Theta sorority incorporated, Delta Upsilon chapter. I was in NAACP. I was in everything. Like, we had pageants and we got together. So I never felt that lack that people talk about. And I think the other interesting piece is that coming from Detroit at that time, Detroit was probably 99.9% Black. And so I grew up around Black people. Like, I find that sometimes I, you know, talk to people that attended HBCUs, and a lot of them, it was different, where they might have grew up in the suburbs. They went to school, you know, in these diverse situations. It wasn't like that growing up in Detroit. So I already had my Black, you know, like the experience of certain things that you may get, like music and things like that. Like I had that growing up in Detroit. So I felt like Western was the best of both worlds. Like, it prepared me, you know, for things that I would face in life, but I, you know, in terms of race, but I also feel like I felt like I was at a Black college because that's kind of all I was around, and we had fun, and, you know, we took pride in things, and I just never felt like I missed. I don't ever sit and feel like I missed out on the HBCU experience, and I think it's great. Like, I've worked at 2 HBCUs. I worked at Bowie State University and Howard University. Both great institutions, but I enjoyed my experience at Western.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good. Yeah, for the little bit of time I was there, I enjoyed mine too. Probably too much. Probably just a
That's how
too
most
much.
of the men were that we've had on this show.
Okay. I had a good time too, but I got my work done.
Yeah. Well, and I got my work done. I came home for other reasons. You know, being young and stupid was one of them. So you worked at Bowie State. How was that?
Well, people from Bowie could be listening, so I don't want to say too much. I don't like to talk. I think it was different for me. One, I moved to a different part of the country. So I came from the Midwest to the East Coast, which was a whole different experience. But it was a Black college. I mean, it was good. Like, even when you go through things that may seem bad at the time, when you look back, it was, you know, it was a good experience. I met some great people, met some of my, you know, lifelong friends. You know, even some of the students, I still keep in touch with them. And that was my first professional job postgraduate school. So it kind of threw me off into the workforce. I was 25, and, you know, I had a great time. I was able to supervise a staff and really mold them to become leaders, young women, and, you know, really like mentor them. What I really always wanted to do. Like, I had an all women's dorm, and so, or residence hall, we don't like to say dorm, but working at Bowie was good because I did get to see something that was started, not necessarily, Bowie State wasn't started by Black people, but because it ended up becoming part of the state institution. It started off as I think a teacher's college, but just to see something where, you know, fellow Black people took so much pride in making sure that, you know, other Black students were educated, and just how they respected the teachers, the professors, the administrators. It was really like a family environment. Even being able to go into the cafeteria and, like, the food was the food we ate growing up. And so, I mean, it was even with the things that I probably would have changed just to kind of get them up to speed with a lot of things. And they, you know, have since really evolved. I felt like, you know, it was a cool experience. I learned a lot. Yeah.
Good. Well, that's good. See, that's good that you can look back on your experiences and see where the positivity was, because we know everything isn't all positive, but it's good when we can learn in the situations that we've been in. And so
see the positive side of
right.
it.
And so So now I'm going to do something you said you really didn't want to do, but you had a vast array of experience with people who you went to school with,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm talking high school.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to throw one name out there because he a fool.
Oh,
And look, as soon as I said it, his name flew right out of my head. You know what I'm talking about? What's the young man's name?
oh, you're talking about Spice Adams?
Spice Adams.
Mm-hmm.
So did you know him while you were in high school?
Oh, yeah, like it's funny, people ask me that all the time. Did I know him or do I know him? And I'm like, yeah, like I mean, Spice is really like family. When I talk about my bio chosen family, like literally he is family. His wife, his kids, his mother, our friend circle. It's just like a family circle. So yes, Spice and I attended King together. He was in the MSET program as well. I feel like at one point we shared lockers. We were locker partners. Our circle of friends, we always did everything together. I mean, we used to hang out, and I mean, we have some really funny stories. So when I say that he's my friend, like I actually communicate with Spice every day. We have a thread, a group of us are on, and literally it's nonstop laughs, jokes, encouragement. I mean, he's the type of friend that I can call right now, put him on FaceTime. It's like we can touch each other. So he is really more than a friend. Like I said, he's family, and I tell people all the time, he has always been silly.
Right.
This is like, nothing new. And although he played professional football and he did great, he was equally as focused, in high school as he is silly. I mean, so it's like you see the silliness, but he really is a smart individual. He just has really just good character. Sometimes you meet, people become famous or, even get access to money and they kind of change, or, like I introduced him to people and they might have probably thought he was going to be funny acting, and he is like the same. Like he could get on this podcast right now and you would think like, or he could come to Granny house and everybody would be laughing.
Right. Because I know, and the only reason I brought him up, because I know you say you really don't want to name drop, but I remember when he hadn't even started doing this stuff he's doing now, and you were out there promoting him. And so that's why I wanted to bring that, because it goes to show part of the reason why I wanted you on here is because you always been out there pushing and promoting people in their dreams. And in fact, some folks know it, maybe some of them don't know it, a lot of them don't know it. That Misha in the family is called the godmother. or Jameesha, as y'all. Jameesha. She's the godmother. She's the one that's always prodding and pushing and directing and controlling her younger cousins to try to get them to be the best that they can be. So I thought that I would give it a life example that people know about. Because Spice wasn't out there when you were pushing him. I remember I got a Facebook thing from you about him. I'm like, who is this? And he was doing his thing. So, and it takes a certain amount of intelligence to be funny. Without a doubt, you can't just be funny and be stupid.
Yeah.
And know how to monetize it and make money, make a living. So he was able to jump careers, retire from football, and go right into, doing stuff on. It takes a lot of effort, like the editing. I mean, as foolish as his outfits look, that still takes some planning and even thought of how to lay everything out.
Yes.
I know that his wife, she does a lot to help him with the videos and stuff like that, but. Yeah, I mean, it takes a lot.
Yeah, and he played in the Celebrity All-Star game in the NBA last year. So, so he's somebody. Folks know who he is. So that's wonderful. And so I don't know if you want to talk about your family. I don't know if you want to talk about them right now.
What does that mean?
Well, she know what I mean. I guess she know what I mean. So we'll come back to that.
Okay.
We'll come back to that. So Delta Sigma Theta. Yeah, there she go dancing. It's funny that, and like you say, you the person that wants to be in the background, but I know a whole lot of Deltas. I mean, a whole lot of Deltas, and every last one of them know you. Every last one of them know you.
Well, in my bio, I said I don't meet strangers. So
yes, that's right.
I was trying to figure out you met some of them just because of the proximity. But talk about your life as a Delta and what you glean from it and what it gives you.
Well, one of the reasons, you went to Western, so you probably know a lot of the Deltas. And one of the good things that has come from pledging DST is just, really having a network at your fingertips and just really there. So even though a lot of the Deltas that you probably were at Western with during the same time, we stay connected. And, so they're only a phone call away. Or like I said, if I needed to go somewhere, travel to another state, if they live there, they'll have my back. But I think for me, again, being a first generation college student, the only thing I really knew about fraternities and sororities was watching School Days or, shows like A Different World. It was no one in the family to say, oh, okay, I'm a Delta, you need to be a Delta. I'm this, you need to be that. Or even to like, okay, when I get older, I want to be just like that person. And so I feel like when I got to Western, of course, you hear stuff about fraternities and sororities, and you kind of like, oh, I don't know if I will be up to that, or you hear these rumors or whatever. But I think for me, as soon as I stepped on Western's campus, like the Deltas just stood out. They were leaders. I actually thought they were older than what they were. They was probably like a year or two, maybe 2 years older than me, but they just really stood out. I mean, a lot of them were really nice. And not even just being nice. Well, actually, I was kind of really intimidated by them because they seemed so much older. They were in business suits. They were about business. They ran the yard. They got stuff done. And so I really, I admired them, but from afar. But really what prompted me to do it was reading a book called In Search of Sisterhood. I started to do research. And I remember reading the book and I was like, wow, like these are some of the women that I grew up like admiring and seeing on TV, or not really knowing that they were Deltas, because I didn't really know what a Delta was. And so as I just began to do more and more research, I was just like, this is me. Like, this is the type of woman that I am. This is the type of woman that I want to be. And I wanted to just like join, arms with them and say, hey, I want to be a part of history. I want to be a part of, not even being a mover and shaker, like attention, but like moving a needle, always be on the front line of things that would make an impact on society. So I didn't really care about and even now, like I'm not the Delta that has to have a whole bunch of Delta paraphernalia on or strolling and stuff like that. Like really just at the heart, being like of service and helping others. And so pledging Delta really, I always say, was one of the best decisions that I made before the age of 21. Like I became a member, actually, this year marks 20 years that I have, been a member of Delta Sigma Sorority Incorporated. And I feel like it literally is one of the best decisions. Like some of my greatest moments have been with, my sorority sisters, and even some of the things that it taught me in college. Like we really had to run things professionally, wearing suits, learning how to put minutes together, Robert's Rules of Order. And it just was really a continuation of what we learned growing up, even being, I tell people, like, I grew up in the church. And so the other thing about pledging Delta or becoming a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated is it wasn't hard for me in terms of the sisterhood, or even some of the things that people kind of say, well, I'm not, I don't want to join and have to do this. Or for us, when I came to my granny, so my grandmother, when you came to her house, you had to speak to all the elders when you walked in the house. You had to hug people. You had to, and looking, even seeing her and, all like serving and just as a family, to me, Delta was the same way. Like, kind of paying homage and giving respect to the older members. That it comes natural to me because that's kind of what, we were taught. And so, like I said, one of the best decisions, some of my best, like, I don't like to use the term best friend, but my forever friends, women that I could call, not even just because I need something like money, but when I need to talk, I've been able to get great opportunities just by knowing a member of the sorority. And that's at Western, in Detroit, even here, like some of my greatest opportunities. And even the person that I work for, and I've worked for the last 12 years, my boss, Natasha Eubanks, she's one of my sorority sisters. Okay. And so, that was one of the draws, and even working for her, is that, I get to make history and work with someone who we share that bond together. And it's been really some rough times that we have been up, all night or just stressed out. And it's like, we would laugh and say stuff like, good thing we pledged Delta because this is nothing to us. Like if we could get through, you know, the stuff that we went through in college, like this is like water down our back. So, you know, so like I said, it's one of the best decisions that I ever made in life.
All right, then.
And I think everybody should want to be a Delta. But
hey, this is what we here for, shameless plugs. so since you brought Natasha up, I want to segue. YBF.
Mm-hmm.
How'd that come about? And talk about what you can talk about. Let's do that.
Oh, yeah, and I can talk, you know, this is about the people. So I didn't want to just spend a whole bunch of time talking about celebrities. So how did YBF come about, or how did me working for YBF?
Both.
Okay,
because
so
I want to give Natasha a little shout out because of what she's been able to do.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I mean, really like a pioneer in the lane that she helped create. She was in law school. She was in New Orleans and Hurricane Katrina happened, and she kind of was playing around with the idea of, you know, starting this celebrity entertainment blog website because she was obsessed with celebrities. Like she loved, you know, at that time getting a National Enquirer or People magazine. But the thing about it is you really only saw like one or two Black celebrities, maybe Oprah at the time, maybe Beyonce, maybe Will and Jada Smith. And so, you know, she felt like it was so many other Black celebrities that deserved to be put on a pedestal, and kind of like, we always say Black, you know, we were Black excellence before it became a hashtag. Like that's really what she wanted to promote. And so she was in law school and kind of like managing being in law school, but then trying to start this thing. And I mean, anybody that probably knows law school is a really major commitment. And then Hurricane Katrina happened. And so they were displaced and she had to go to Houston for a little while. And so long story short, she just kind of realized like law school wasn't something that she really wanted to do at that time. You know, she's on a break. She's on a break. Right. And so she just kind of put her heart and soul into it. And it'll be 16 years this summer that she launched the site. She launched it by herself, you know, no major resources. She kind of built it from the ground up and just have worked to really like make it a household name. And she's, you know, done some really amazing stuff. She's employed people. She has, you know, given me an opportunity and so many other people. And really, I mean, as much as sometimes people don't like to give credit, like she's launched the careers of people that you would have never really heard about or maybe even cared about. So I feel like, you know, yeah, definitely a pioneer in the digital media space, because that was at a time where people still was kind of just flipping magazines. She started, he was like one of the first people, or, you know, a woman of color that kind of started that. And, you know, when you work for a small media company, you battle with the big wigs. Like they're trying to take things. And of course, even what we call culture vultures, where you have these mainstream media outlets that don't really care about Black people. They probably only want to report like bad things or whatever, you know, coming and trying to steal content or, you know, just trying to play bully. And so she's really stood her ground a lot. And like I said, made a name is still 100% owned by her. And, you know, just every day and try to make it bigger and better and, you know, and compete. Because, I mean, of course, times have changed. So things, you know, there are so many different websites, and now everybody wants to do, you know, everybody wants to be a celebrity, or I think a lot of people want to go viral. And so, you know, you know, sometimes that could be a challenge, but she, like I said, has been around for 16 years. So I've been with her for 12 years. It'll be 13 years. And we were friends before. And so at the time I was working for the Marriott Foundation, and I was working for another smaller nonprofit. And she had asked me if I knew anybody that could be her assistant, because her assistant was leaving her at the time. And I was like, oh, you know, I started naming all these people I could get to do it or whatever, not really thinking like she wanted me, because I had never thought about being anyone's executive assistant. And so I gave her some names, and then it came back up again. And she was like, no, like, I want you to be my assistant. So at first I was like, wait a minute. Is this going to be some situation where you have me like walk in to get, at the time, I think Diddy had the show Making the Band, and he was making people walk to the cheap juniors in Brooklyn and get cake and talking crazy. I was like, okay, you can't talk to me crazy. Or she was like, why would I talk to you crazy? And so, you know, we were able to meet and work things out. And I have been,
the rest is history.
Yeah, the rest is history. And, you know, we've done some really, really fun things, some good things. And like I said, you know, I get to work with someone that I share so much with. Oh, Lord.
I'm gonna keep showing this because obviously, you know, you talked about how she built this thing on her own from the ground up. So obviously she's done something right. She's 16 years, but you guys went to the White House.
Yes, we did. And that was crazy because beforehand, you know, we didn't know that we would meet the Obamas, and I wasn't gonna ask, and you know, I just was happy to be at the White House. I was like, okay, I get to go to the White House, get to dress up. And so we went, and I remember we were standing in line, like when you go, before you can, you know, if anybody has gone to the White House, you know, you're going through some security checkpoints
right
before you get up in. And I remember we were standing outside, and there was an older couple. And I just, you know, of course, Jameesha talks to anybody, started making small talk with this older woman. And so she was kind of explaining how the night goes or whatever. And so she was like, oh yeah, like then you get to go and take a picture. And I'm like, take a picture? We get to meet them? And I, you know, we tried to play it cool or whatever. And I still was in my mind like, well, okay, I'm not gonna get my hopes up. And so we went, we had a good time. Like it was one of the funnest, or I mean, the food was the bomb. Like I ate macaroni and cheese at the White House. It was just really beautiful. It was decorated really nice. Everybody was just really friendly. It didn't even feel like you were at this, you know, I guess historical place. I really felt like I was just at the club with people that I knew. And so as I went on, they started they gave us like a slip of paper, and long story short, you know, it was like, okay, when we call this, get in this line. Okay. And so of course, and I'm like, I think we're about to meet them. And I remember my shoe or something kind of snagged on my shoe. And I was like, I'm not even bending down to touch it because I don't want them thinking I'm trying to go in my shoe to get nothing. Like I'm whatever. And so I remember, you know, you kind of go in as a group. So Natasha and I was, you know, listed as a group. And so I remember us walking in, and they introduced you like, okay, such and such, Natasha Eubanks, Jameesha, the YBF. And I remember hearing at the time, President Barack Obama, he was like, YBF, he said something like young, black, and fabulous. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I was like, did he just really say that? And it was like, it was quick, but they were very nice. I mean, I think we both couldn't even say anything. It was just kind of like, wait a minute, like, you know, you walk up.
We actually here with the president. That is right.
You trying to play it cool, and I didn't want to say too much, or I ended up in the picture, like we, you know, touched to take the picture, but I was like, I don't want the Secret Service thinking I'm trying like nothing. We kind of had a little small talk, you know, a little, you know, even just as Black people, sometimes we give that like embrace, without saying anything, because it wasn't just Black people at this Christmas party,
of course.
But I think we were both just like frozen in time because we just couldn't even really say nothing. I mean, the smiles were so big. The picture is one of my favorites because they made us look good. And I remember walking out of the room, and at the time, her name, I'm drawing a blank. I know it starts with a D, but she had just gotten promoted to become the White House social secretary, and she was like started intern. And I remember she kind of looked at us, and you know, it was just like, again, one of those like proud moments where you don't say anything, but your eyes say everything. And I remember Natasha and I just sitting down, like we found a bench after, and we just was like, we were just speechless. And I think we both, it was just like, wait a minute, did we just, and if you've ever been around both of us together, we're both silly and just a bunch of fun. It was just like, I don't know, like I felt like I still was in shock. Like I was still just like, okay, let me just try to play cool. I don't want nobody putting me out the White House because I'm acting a fool. And so, it was just, and we went and started dancing and ballrooming and you know, everything that people do at parties, playing music. So I don't think it really hit me. Even that night when I didn't tell anybody that because I was like, I don't know if they're gonna send a picture, and I don't want to tell people I met him. So I didn't even really, I told like one of my friends, we were talking afterwards, and she was like, so how did it go? And I remember telling Jennifer, and she was like, wait, you met the president? And she was like, why are you sounding so nonchalant? but that's like my personality. Like I just kind of sometimes just don't want to seem like I'm bragging.
Right.
Like I said, it was just one of those moments. And I think it really didn't hit me until that picture hit my inbox. When the White House staff sent that picture over, I was like, wait a minute.
That is you. That's me. The pinch me moment.
I think I emailed them back like, can I post this somewhere? Are we gonna get in trouble? What are the rules or whatever? And I was happy, but I think I sent you all a card too.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you did.
I ended up sending out thank you cards to I just wrote down everybody in my life who I felt like had made such an impact on me. And I feel like it was a moment for all of us. Like it wasn't just for me. Like I felt like everybody from neighborhood, the family.
I know, because when we got it, I hollered. I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe it.
Yeah, I felt like it was just a moment for everybody. Like, wow. And even, I think for years to come, like I hope that people are able in our families to share, like, somebody in the family got to meet someone. Yeah. So
the president
of the United States.
No.
Yeah.
The president.
Yeah.
The. Because yeah.
So it was, like I said, it was just one of those moments. And like I said, it's still some days I be like, I can't believe it. You just work hard and you don't think about what happened. But I was, really proud. And like I said, I was thinking about everybody that had helped me get there to that point. And you two were two of those people. So
ooh, yeah. I love you back.
Yeah. Okay, so now one of the things we had talked about, I wanted you to share with our listeners, our viewers. You've met some people along your journey who have done some phenomenal things. Actually, they've done some if I could say epic things. Can you share some of those with us?
Sure. So if anybody that knows me or follows me, I have a hashtag that I use called Jam On It Loves Good News, because who doesn't? Like, everybody wants to hear good. I do. I like good news. I feel there's enough bad things that happen. And, there are people who share that news, and that's good because sometimes we all need to know what's coming ahead that's bad. But I choose to really focus on good news. And sometimes people get overlooked. We always think about the celebrities, like what we would consider the big wigs. And, I realize like it's people just in my phone, in my own reach, that are doing some amazing things, whether it's local, regionally, and so I try to like really, really celebrate the people that I know how I can. And so, I mean, like all of my friends and, people, they're just doing really, really good things. Of course, we talked about Spice, and I think that he's doing a great job. But I have other friends. So my friend Ashley Bobo, and I've posted about her. She just got a promotion with Nissan, where she's the director of diversity communications. And the special thing about the people that I post is like, probably most of them, I knew them from when it was just starting for them. Like I can remember Ashley working part-time at WDIV. I think she was at WDIV, one of the news stations in Detroit. She was just a PA or like writing the news. And then I remember her going to like an agency to work. And, she's just worked her way up. And so to see her get her, do it, and it comes from her really putting in the hours. Like it wasn't overnight. She's done just like some amazing stuff. My other, so Ashley is a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, but I love her. And then another, young lady that I know, she's actually a Joseph, Ashley Williams, and I posted about her. And I remember when she was an intern during the Obama administration. And the thing about it is you should always treat people well, no matter what. And I'm always that type of person. I don't care. I'm cool with the people that work at the store,
exactly.
I don't care, just whatever. And so now, she's over the years just like done some amazing things and really worked her way up. And so now when Joe Biden was elected president, now she's his deputy director of Oval Office operations.
Wow.
And so to see her, I want to at the bottom, but to see her start at the bottom and work her way up. And like I said, I just have tons of friends. Like one of my former interns, Bree, and we call her Bree, but Brianna Green, she's from Detroit, but she lives in LA. she works with the Ellen DeGeneres show. And I remember serving as a reference for that position. They called me to talk to me about her working for Ellen. And I remember, you know, just telling them the truth about her, and to see her actually, you know, she is doing what she set out to, you know, when she left. She was living, you know, our ancestors' dreams. So those are just some of the people, but you can go to my page on Instagram. It's Jammonit, JAMMONIT, and you will see nothing but positivity. If there's someone that I know, and I have countless other friends. I mean, and I have friends that are not doing necessarily like big things, but I'm proud of my friends that are educators, mothers. I have friends that are nurses, doctors, you know, like I said, knowing them when it's before it started at King, when we was just taking chemistry and biology, trying to figure it out. And to see them now be what we all set out to be. I have a friend, Willie, he's just actually relocated back to Detroit, and he's working in marketing, lifestyle marketing for the Detroit Pistons. And so, you know, to see his journey of working hard. He works in New York. He's done several things. He worked for the Players Tribune, which is a sports media company. He modeled, and, you know, now he's back home, just, you know, making it work for our home team, and hopefully helping to them a household.
That's right. So, and there's one person I want to ask you about. What's her name? Janique? Was that her name? Because of them, we can. Was that a friend of you?
Yeah. So Unique actually is one of my sorority sisters. See, Delta Sigma Theta. The funny thing about Unique is that, and again, she's one of those people where when people find out we know each other, they ask, "Oh, when did you meet her?" They, you know, think I just kind of met her. I met Unique. She was one of the first people I met when I moved to Maryland from Detroit. And so she was a student at Bowie State University when I worked there. Okay. And at the time, she had just became a member of Delta Sigma Theta. She was the president of the chapter at Bowie, and they needed an advisor. And so I guess word got out on campus, like, oh, it's this new young girl that's working here. She's a Delta. And Unique found me in my office on campus and was like, we need you to be our advisor. We need an advisor on campus. And I was like, okay. And we talked. I went, interviewed to get the position. The chapter selected me, and we have been rocking ever since. I helped her. One of the things people don't know is that at some point she was elected the second national vice president of our entire sorority. So she is in the history books, even with Delta. Okay. And so I was on her campaign, and just over the years, anything that Unique has ever reached out to do. And, you know, the thing, I'm kind of like quiet counsel, like you don't see us always out in pictures together, but anything that she's ever done, she calls me, reaches out, hey, what do you think about this? And that was even before the culture tags game, even when she started doing the pictures, like, and another thing is like, even with the pictures, I used to send them to people that I knew, like that could get them into the hands of the celebrities. And I remember, I think like Russell Simmons, she did a tribute to Run DMC, and I knew somebody that worked for him. And I sent it to that person. They sent it to Russell. He put it on Twitter. And that has happened a lot of times. And, you know, just helping her out, not needing any type of recognition. And, you know, just really outside of, we're sorority sisters, but really just being a friend. She's another person, like chosen family. So anytime she calls, I'm there. You know, I help her even now with her culture brands. Just whatever she needs done, roll up my sleeves and help. I'm always going to promote her. And we've had some really good moments throughout the years. And I'm proud of her because she just keeps pushing the envelope and representing the culture. So
wonderful.
Right. Well, I know that you touched a lot of your sorority sisters in that fashion, because I know ones that I know, and not through Western Michigan either, through work.
Oh.
Yeah, not through Western, through work. When Misha is wonderful. Whatever she needs, that's all. Whatever she needs.
Miss Social Butterfly.
So it ain't just people that I went to school with. People that I work with know you, and so that's why I say I know a lot of Deltas and people that I found out later on, and you know that I didn't know were Deltas. That were Deltas, and if I mention your name, and they say I'm not sure, then I describe. Oh, I know Misha. I know Jamishia. Yes, I do. Whatever she needs. So that's beautiful. It's always good. And like I said, I wanted you on it because I wanted people to know that there are folks out there behind the scenes who are doing things, who are promoting people, because there are a lot of people out there now who are out there blowing their home. I shouldn't say blowing their home, but are outwardly, I'm promoting these folks, and you've been promoting people on the low for a long time. And it's funny because all those people that I know of that you've been promoting, we just lost you, Misha.
Oh, wait, did you lose me?
There we go. Well, I got
okay.
I got the picture hidden. So there we go. There you back. So
I'm back.
yeah. So all those people, the people that are doing things, big things that you've been a part of their lives and of course a part of their successful journey. So what I want to do now, because that I don't know if you remember, if you realize this, it's called Things My Mother Never Told Me. That's the show. That's the name of the show. And I ask everybody, I don't care who they are, come on here. Is it anything that your mother, who keeps out there telling this lie that I'm older than her, that she didn't tell you or didn't get you prepared for it growing up?
It's funny you ask that because I've listened to previous episodes, and when I hear you say, I listen to what people say, but I'm always like, oh my God. Like when you asked me to be on there, I was like, what can I say? Oh, because I know my mother is watching. Hi, Mama.
What up, older cousin?
That she wouldn't feel like I'm saying she did a bad job. So I will say this, because I've really been thinking about it for a couple of weeks, leading up to this point. Sometimes people don't know what they don't know. So
right.
One of the things, I just turned 40 last year, and I'm not a parent, so I try to really give people grace. And one of the redeeming things, I guess, about not being a parent or having friends that are parents is that it has allowed me to maybe see some of the things that my mother might have gone through, and not necessarily like forgiveness, but to give her a break on some things, because I'm seeing my friends kind of go through things or see that, they have to go through things and still parent. So it's kind of giving me a view that maybe, she did the best that she could do. And like I said, I just believe that sometimes, and times have definitely changed, people don't know what they don't know. And so I think my mother gave me all that she could give me and what the best of what, she had to give me. So thank you for that. I think, like I said, as a person that I don't have kids, one of the things that I think people kind of make a mistake on, and again, I think it's with the best intention sometimes, is that just not being totally honest about like the bad stuff that happens or the tough times. I mean, I know you want to protect your kids, and I think all kids could be different. I think, just with our, my siblings, like I probably could take a little more in terms of maybe what was told to me and, even understanding. But, things like even with men, like I feel like, you will hear women say, or maybe she said, don't be fast or always be a lady, or, the general things. But maybe even giving me stories or being personal, giving personal stories or saying like, what do you mean? Like, don't trust men or don't have sex. Like, why are you saying that? Like, let's have a real conversation, especially like once I became a teenager.
Yeah.
Really, like, or even if she was going through stuff, to say, hey, like, I'm not really doing well right now, or this is how I'm feeling. Like, I'm having some issues, and knowing that maybe I'm not perfect. Like, I'm going to make mistakes. I think sometimes probably as parents, you don't want to seem like you made a mistake and that you made a bad call or whatever. And not even just with boys, like even with finances, like just things that once I got to college, or even for me, I didn't hang out a lot with the people in the neighborhood, or like I went to King, which wasn't a neighborhood school. So I got to kind of touch a lot of different pockets of the city and be exposed to people that situations probably were a little different than mine. And so I feel like, sometimes I wish that I would have learned about finances. Of course, you knew not to save and to, not just blow your money, but even like investing or a savings account, or, like credit cards, or even just being a little smarter with my money, or, for us, people get a good job and you go out and buy a car, like a brand new car. We don't really need to buy a brand new car. You can get a used car. So I think just like the little stuff, but I really wish that maybe just being a little more open about stuff, because I've had to learn the hard way about some stuff. And I'm like, dang. And for me, not having kids, I'm careful with talking to other people's kids about stuff because I want to kind of support the parents. But I really like, with some of my nieces and, kids, young people that I know, I kind of tell the truth about stuff. So even with like men, like, let me tell you something, this is what it's,
Right.
Or finances or jobs or just life,
life.
like life is, don't think that everybody's going to like love you like your mama and your daddy and your grandmother. Like life is really hard. And so for me, I always say, like, if I have kids, like, I'm going to be the parent that will probably be a little too transparent or just,
just a little like more open. Yeah.
And I would say, Tanya, I thought about this earlier. I really think growing up, like, I feel like you were one of those people where I felt like you always kind of kept it real. And maybe because I wasn't your child, like you could kind of say some stuff. I don't know. Like,
the reason I was saying that is because, like you said, I know how it is when you giving your mother, like you said, more grace. Because my mother, the type of mother I had, and like you said, and I'm realizing as I got older that she got all her parenting from her mother, who didn't, you know what I'm saying? So it's just, we have to keep evolving.
Right. Yeah. So I was thinking about that earlier, and I was like, I remember just thinking like, Tanya is so real. Like she just, like you would say stuff that I feel like other people wouldn't say. And I always felt connected to you like that. Like, okay, that's how I'm gonna be. Cause we all over here faking and all of this other stuff, or not even faking, but just not being.
I know what you're talking about.
So I thought about that with you and Nicole. She was like that, maybe because she was only 10 years older, she would have really like real conversations with me, and that it helped me.
Right. Well, it's funny because she was able to do that though, because technically she was the outsider.
Yeah.
Because in our family, it was always the family. Everywhere we went, everything we did, it was all family. And so she was technically the outsider who was inside, who was accepted inside, so she could be real. But I'll tell you, you can ask Jason them. They didn't think that we made many mistakes, growing up, as many mistakes as we made, because like most parents in our generation, we want our kids to have the best and to realize the best and to not know their struggle going on in the house. When I agree with you wholeheartedly, that ain't the way to go.
Yeah.
Because because me going to CAS, my thing, I got to see a whole different world going to CAS than what I saw over there on the Iroquois.
Oh yeah.
Right.
And sometimes we're not prepared for it because CAS, we had a whole bunch of, if I can say, bougie people, people who came, who parents had money and did a whole lot of things, and we thinking we got the best of all things, and we find out while they can get stuff, well, I better get on the bus. So yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I like that. Yeah, parents need to try to be more real with their kids.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
And it's like you said.
Yeah, I think it's, I think, like I said, good intentions, probably just to protect, and like you said, that's how people were raised. Like it's a kid, you sit at the kids' table. You don't need to know. But I think that, as kids get older, it's some things that you could share with them or just be real. Like I said, if I have a kid, like I'm talking real about real stuff. I'm not really sugar. No, I'm not going to tell you something that you at a certain age don't need to hear, but I want to really be able to have real conversations. So like when I'm around Jayla, and some of the other kids and Brooke, that's my niece that lives here, and Mariah, I really just try to be real. Like and sometimes that's gotten me in trouble with just being real because, we like
you got to be bold. You get want to hear you though.
Especially to me, young girls, like I want them to be prepared and I want them to be able to go out into the world and navigate it and not be taken off guard by things that are going to happen, and to be able to protect themselves and to really know what they're getting into with, dating, friendships, just everything. Like I really want to, that's kind of what I feel like I would do. And I like I said, I try to do that with the young women that I know.
Right. And so some people might not know this. How many nieces and nephews do you have?
Whew, see, I feel like it's like, because I have Detroit crew, and then I have the Maryland crew. And so in Detroit, I have 12 nieces, and 2 nephews. That's amongst my siblings in Detroit. And then here in Maryland, I think I'm up to 3. I think I have 2 nephews and 3 nieces. So we got to do the math on that. Yeah, I have. This is blood. You know, this isn't even the chosen ones. My forever friends. You know, their kids are my nieces and nephews as well. So,
right.
You know, that's another hashtag. Jam on it loves the kids.
Jam on it, yeah.
Right.
Love the kids.
You got a lot of them to share that love with. And I don't even know if you want to talk about anything else with family. That's up to you.
Well, I guess the one thing, I am wearing a retrograde sweater by my cousin, Jasmine Dixon, who was on the podcast, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago?
About 3 weeks ago, 3-4 weeks ago.
And she's also your youngest daughter. And so I'm here proud of Jasmine, of, you know, the things that she's done. But, you know, like I said, I had to rep. So I wanted to share her. I paid for it to support her business. And I just think one of the things, and families, everybody kind of goes through ups and downs, but I always tell people, can you see me? Am I going out?
There you go. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. When people meet me or it's like, oh, you're just so nice, or, you know, you always are trying to give or pulling money together, or like you said, even promoting people. But I always tell people, it's just kind of the family that I grew up in. We always pulled together to make things happen. We was always, you know, getting together at Granny's house or somewhere. So it's like the only thing that I know. Or even Granny, you know, Granny would, before we had GoFundMe, Granny was collecting money, driving up on people. We got to do this. Granny fund me. Right. So even when people pass, it's just natural for me to figure out what I need to do, what do we need to do. But I think a lot of that comes from Granny and just, you know,
all those being together, all over there.
So that whole okay, we'll make it happen, we'll figure it out, and just even being down to earth. I feel like, you know, we were a very down to earth. You come over here, you might go to church and be in a choir the next day. You got
that part right.
So everybody is family. And even Damon, you were saying Tanya, even though she was an outsider, some days I forget her and Essie are married, and you know, they were not blood family, because I'm I consider y'all
real family.
People always think oh, is that your mother? They always think you and Essie are my mother's sisters because y'all are the same complexion. So yeah, I mean, I feel like with family, and there's definitely, I'll be transparent, there's been some disappointments, and I've learned some really tough lessons with our family. And I mean, hopefully, you know, things can get back on track and just, you know, work through those things. But like I said, that's been one of my biggest lessons. But you know, I love my family. It has really made me the person that I am, and everything that I've done, most of the stuff that I've done it to help the family or make the family proud, or to help someone.
Yes.
So so I think, you know, I'm proud of everybody, and I try to maintain relationships and, you know, get to know people. And, you know, as a kid, always following Granny around, and I was, you know, oh, that's such. And I try to remember that and encourage other people to get to know each other in the family and to stay connected. Because one thing that I am realizing, I'm sure Damon, you know, now that you're older, y'all are the elders in the family versus
wow.
But I remember,
it's the truth.
Yeah, I remember when, you know, y'all were in the middle, or, you know, y'all were the youngins, and it's now y'all the elders. So with that, we are starting to lose our giants, even directly in the family or connected to the family, even losing Sister Smith, Sister Cynthia, and Katrina. You know, that really was hurtful, because I'm these are the people that, you know, my childhood going to church, these are the people that I walked in the church and saw their faces, and I'll never get to see that. So I feel you know, it's just getting older, y'all are becoming the elder statesmen, and then we are the ones that are in the middle, and then people have kids. So I really want to make sure that the kids all know each other, because you know, things.
I'm like you, Misha, because I'm doing a thing right now. I'm starting the history of the family, so I can have this big family reunion, because like you said, so many of us and all the millennials, like you said, we have lost a lot of the older generation. So I'm trying to get all of them together before I move on. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So yeah.
Okay, we're gonna have to stop this kumbaya right quick. I just no, I just happened to look over. Somebody got a question for you, Teresa Bennett. She said, in your downtime, if that word exists with you, what do you enjoy doing?
I do have downtime, especially with COVID. It's only so much that we can do. I love to read. I don't read as much as I used to read. I have like a long bookshelf over to my left. I'm in a book club, so I try to read a book at least once a month. I read a lot of articles online. If anybody really knows me, I love to laugh. So I have several different threads, like text threads, like I told you earlier with Spice and some of my other friends, where we send memes and things all day. So I definitely love to laugh. I keep in touch with a lot of my friends, and I love sending cards. I'm actually in the process of like mailing out cards right now. I like writing, messages to people. I like to go out to eat, even though, it's been challenging.
Yeah.
And everybody knows that busboys and
Bus
poets.
boys and poets.
Yeah.
If you go to DC and you know Misha, you go on the bus boys and poets.
But they just changed the meal, so it's not even the same. Yeah, so I'm thinking about calling corporate. I just thought that would be really like fat to be.
But you know what? That's since COVID, a lot of people was talking about that with all of their favorite restaurants because they reduced the menu and they don't know if this item is coming back. I went to this place and they don't even have it anymore longer. So
Right.
I was like,
okay, yeah, and I'm trying to see Denise Livingston Dryden. She said, hey, she's super proud of you.
Oh, that's one of my sorors. She
Yes.
lives in my mother's building. So.
Right.
oh, okay.
Yeah. Where was we at? Okay, so yeah. So that's the question we got. But and your mother says, "Hey."
Yes.
Hey, mama. I love you.
I know it's been a blast, though. I'm telling you.
Right.
I'm so glad that we were one of your mentors.
No, I mean, and of course, if you never know the impact that you have on people. And I always wonder, like, I hope people don't think I'm like younger people, like if they think I'm crazy. But even stuff like, I remember y'all used to go to that event every year. I think Auntie Debbie and Uncle Jeff, it was like some gala or like ball.
Oh yeah.
When they had,
I remember being over Granny house and seeing y'all like come out, and y'all had that, was it a black dust shadow or something?
Shadow, yeah, Dodge Shadow, summer,
even stuff like that
spring edition.
Right. I even stuff like that where, okay, where was we dressing up to go to the church anniversary? We didn't really dress up, like those type of things where it was like, oh, like they go, like they look nice. I mean, y'all were married, so that was another thing. I mean, even through y'all trials and tribulations, like even being able to see that, like, hey,
I know.
People, people meet y'all and like, oh, that's y'all cousins they married. I'm like, yeah, but I remember they went through something, and Tanya stood her ground, and even that, like, as a woman, like I remember, like, okay, like this is how stuff can happen. It wasn't just all pretty, and so I remember y'all moved, y'all got a nice house, looked like taking steps up, like Damon, you work for the IRS, and I was just like, oh, he worked for the government. And so, yeah, I feel like y'all have definitely influenced me in that way of like just reaching and wanting more, because sometimes you don't always get that. So I just, like I said, I remember y'all used to come out with y'all little outfits on and tux and go to parties, and y'all went places, y'all traveled, and remember, seeing that. Like I remember your wedding, and I think your wedding was probably the first wedding that I went to, because y'all got married in what, 85?
Yeah.
Yep, 85.
Yeah, that was the first wedding, like real. He was in the wedding. I remember it being red and white.
Yeah,
I remember everything. I remember the reception.
Right, because Real was the ring bearer.
Right. And I've met people as adults who had never been to weddings, or like once my sorority sisters and stuff started getting married, it was some people's first time ever going to a wedding or a funeral. And I'm like, oh, I went to a wedding when I was 5 because my cousins got married. So just those little things that you never think about.
Has an impact. Right. You're right.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I didn't even think about it, because Real's older than you.
Yeah, he's older than me.
Right,
so.
right. And I'm saying, so I didn't even think about it. I was just, your mother posted the picture of me and him when before the ceremony, when he was holding the ring, and me and him was looking at each other, and we posted the picture. And it's funny, because here you are now, and back then you was like, wee, little bitty thing. So yeah.
Right. Like I said, I remember that. I remember like y'all got married one year and then that was red and white. Then the next year, remember Phyllis and Ryan got married.
Yeah, everybody was getting married. You right.
Right.
Yeah. So, but I was able to see a wedding and to see marriage up close. And like I was telling you, like sometimes people just like hide stuff. And I remember, I don't know if you like Damon. I mean, I know this is I remember I was there when Auntie Gwenny passed, your mother. I remember being there, you know, and I remember like that whole situation. I remember her funeral. Like again, I'm 4 going to a funeral, but I remember that, you know, and even seeing the relationship between her and Granny, you know, that was okay. They were close. I remember that, and just even, you know, and Granny got some way. You know, I love my grandmother, but just loving and appreciating the fact that like all of y'all, you know, kids we were able to share her with them. And like, she is just as much their grandmother as she is our. And, you know, when I think about our family, like, that's just how it is. Like, it was no like, oh, this, you know, like, that's it. And I'm sure if Auntie Gwenny was still alive, she would be our granny just as much as, you know, like it was just love like that. And I love the fact of how they loved each other. And so I think about that. Like, I still remember, like I said, that day is still a vivid. That's one of my first memories. And so when I think about family, like I said, I just think when I tell people, I'm like, no, those are like my cousins. Like, those are the cousins I grew up with. Like, when I think about Jason, Jasmine, Sharon, Brandis, Boo, Nalo, like, no, these are my cousins. Like, these are my cousins, you know. So
real cousins for real. You right about that.
Across the street cousin.
Like,
I mean, neighborhood, all y'all went to same schools
went to school together.
All 12, 20 of y'all together.
I was just home in December and I always ride through the neighborhood. Like, and nobody ever believes that we all lived in. I'm like, okay, we lived on this street. They lived on that street. My great-great-grandma lived down the street. We had cousins on this farm. Right. And so showing them the houses, I'm like, oh yeah, that's what Auntie Gwenny used to say, Damon. I was like, I can't believe everybody was living in these houses. Like, when you think about all of y'all was living, Nenny, Cherry, in that one house.
Well, in that one house.
I know.
When you look back at how the heck was all us?
25 people in a van.
Six of us in a house it was 3 bedrooms, but 6 of us.
We was living like the foreigners.
But even going back into some of those spaces as we got older, I was like, how was all of us getting here on Christmas and everybody had a coat and, you know, Thanksgiving? Like, we really used to pile up in the houses.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Oh, you just brought back sweet memories. That's for sure.
Or even your niece Shay. Like, when people find out, like, oh, that's my cousin, you know, and they don't know that we're not blood cousins. Yeah. Like, oh, that's Tanya niece and she my cousin. So
right, because y'all grow up tight. I mean,
right.
Yeah. So, all right, Misha, I'm so glad you were able to come on.
Thanks for having me.
I don't know if anybody was encouraged, helped, and entertained, whatever, by your conversation, but I sure was.
I was too.
It's like you said, every family needs somebody who, good, bad, or whatever, it's all about family, trying to keep the family together.
You don't make mistakes.
And like I said, Misha is godmother. That's her title, godmother.
She led the way. She led the way for real.
Right. Right. So,
I want the twins. You know, I still call them Fat Daddy and Doo-Doo. But
that's what we talking about. That's why we talking about.
Sierra, like, those are my baby. You know, like, I look at them and they probably think they're grown now, but I'm always gonna look at them like the babies.
Yes, they are adult men now, Misha.
Women.
Well, all of them. I'm saying Jasmine, Brandis. I'm like, I remember when y'all was born.
Right. So, because we got married, you know, Jason hadn't turned 1 yet. Well, he had just turned 1.
He was 1.
Yeah, he had just turned 1. So so that means Jasmine wasn't nowhere to be seen.
Right. And so it's some stuff. Yeah, it's some stuff where I'm like, oh yeah, they wasn't born yet. When I think of like Jasmine, Brandis, and Sierra, they're like the second generation.
Right. It's the crew. Don't forget to give Tammy a shout out, please.
Oh yeah. I thought I said something earlier. I'm sorry. My sister, Tamisha, or Tammy, people probably don't know that her name is Tamisha. And it's funny because people, I think, still don't know us apart. Like, they know that we're not twins now because she at some point started, she grew up and was taller than me, but people still be like, which one of y'all is Tamisha? Which one of y'all is Jamisha? Or whatever. My mother dress us alike. And at some point we were the same age. So no, shout out to Tammy. I always say, like, with my siblings, real rest in peace. And even Tammy, like the greatest thing that they ever, like, they had the kids that I don't have to have. So I always tell people, like, no, when I talk about my nieces and nephews, like, I'm their aunt and they have parents, but like, I love their kids and they know, like, I will walk through fire for, my siblings, their kids. And so that is something that I, and even if they share their kids with me, like, Tammy, she always lets Jayla come out here for the summer. It's, sometimes I'll call and be like, well, can we do this? And she's like, she with you, I trust you.
Right.
So, that's just a beautiful thing to be able to, share those experiences with me. Cause I probably, if I don't have kids, I wouldn't get them. So yes. And I think, even with losing Rail, again, being transparent, like, it's definitely brought us even closer together. And we're not the sisters that hang out all the time. We're different in a lot of ways, but the one thing about us, even my mother, she'll get on us like, this was even when Rail was alive, and we would be laughing together on text messaging on the phone. Like, she don't even know we all on the phone plotting on her, or, we got this handle. Like, a lot of times we would be talking and she wouldn't know it. I've always kind of lived away. And like I said, just personality wise, but, I would be on the phone with Rail or Tammy, or, we have our own relationship that, like I said, on the outside, it might not seem like we talk all the time, but when it matters, and really just, we always had each other's back. And like I said, she would be getting on us and we would be laughing like we was actually all on the phone last night trying to figure out something.
I know, because I didn't know Jason and Jazz would talk as much as they do.
Right.
I was like,
yeah. What? I mean, we don't tell y'all everything.
I know.
But we just happy that somehow we found out and we know how close the cousins are.
Yeah.
I mean,
so much so y'all take the yearly trips together and stuff like that.
So
yeah. See, the last one I didn't get invited. I went to see Jasmine when Jasmine first moved into her house. We all flew out there. Yeah, I got, we've gone through some things, but losing Rail, I think, kind of brought some things to start. If we was able to work through that, Brandis and Carlos, we got together over the summer and we hashed things out as cousins, and it wasn't just this beautiful, what was a beautiful conversation is that we were able to work through it. But I think that's what I'm saying. Those are the type of things where people think everything is like,
right.
But
like
we work through stuff.
You gotta have the hard conversations. That's
right.
Well, look, real people
get it back on track.
Right. Real people have real relationships.
And when things really happen, like I said, when Rail passed, the people that I knew would be there were there, like Brandis, Jasmine, Jason, Fat Daddy. I just gotta call you Fat Daddy. I'm sorry.
Carlos, come on.
Sierra, 3.
Right.
Like, just, it didn't matter. Like, we put everything. Like, no, we will make sure.
Yeah.
Janelo, Sharita, Boo. I mean, there's so many cousins.
It was like,
they drove a long way to get there too. Yeah, that was special.
Yeah.
And we always hated the situation, the circumstances, but that's what Rail was about anyway, family and love.
Yep. Yeah. And you even getting up there to speak, like, that was really, I'm sure that could have been hard. Like, you saw Rail being born and, him growing up, and to be, I was like, wow, that was a lot. And even Tanya, like, you were one of the few people, and I know we were still in the pandemic, like, you was coming over here to make sure my mother was okay. And that was really special. Like, you brought her stuff and just sat with her. And that, I'll never forget it. So
yeah. Well, she might forget because she still don't remember that she's older than me. She don't remember that. it may be a couple months, but she's still older than me. Regardless of what you might see from her on Facebook. She's
whatever, Sack. Let him have it, Sack. Let him have it.
All right, Misha. Well, we're gonna let you get back to what you're doing. Ooh, this was a long one. And we appreciate you coming on and sharing
family
and being transparent. And hopefully folks will take something from it. There you go, disappearing again.
She hit the button.
She hit the button. She hit the button. I don't know if she's still on there or not, but whatever. So we're gonna end this. We thank Misha for coming on. Remember, folks, next week we're gonna have Tyrone Bradley, the Godfather, DJ. He's gonna be on and share some stuff with each and every one of you. We appreciate you. Misha, you take care. If you can hear us, we up out of here. Peace.